The boy noticed the old man long before he ever spoke to him. Every afternoon, after school, he passed the same small house with pale walls and a narrow porch. The curtains were always half closed. The garden was neat but quiet, with flowers that looked cared for, yet untouched. And there, on a wooden chair near the door, sat the quiet neighbor. The old man never waved. He never smiled. He simply sat and watched the street, as if waiting for something that never came. At first, the boy felt afraid. Not because the man looked angry, but because he looked empty. His face was lined with years, his shoulders slightly bent, his hands resting on his knees without movement. The boy wondered if the old man even noticed the world around him. Weeks passed. Summer warmed the street. Other neighbors came and went, laughing, arguing, living loudly. But the quiet neighbor stayed the same. Always sitting. Always silent. One afternoon, curiosity grew stronger than fear. The boy slowed his steps. He pretended to tie his shoe near the old man's gate. He could feel the man's presence, like a shadow that didn't move. "Hello," the boy said softly. The word felt too loud in the still air. The old man turned his head slowly. His eyes were tired, but clear. For a moment, he said nothing. The boy thought maybe he had made a mistake. "Hello," the old man replied at last, his voice low and rough, like it had not been used in a long time. The boy stood up straight. "I'm sorry," he said quickly. I walk past your house every day." The old man nodded. "I know." Silence returned, but it was different now. Less heavy. "My name is Tom," the boy said. The old man looked at him for a long moment. "Samuel," he said. That was all. No more words. But when the boy walked away, his heart felt strangely warm. The next day, Tom waved. Samuel nodded. The day after that, Tom stopped again. He talked about school. About a test he didn't like. About a friend who moved away. Samuel listened. He didn't interrupt. He didn't smile. But he listened in a way that made Tom feel heard. Days turned into weeks. Tom began sitting on the low fence near Samuel's house. He talked, and sometimes Samuel answered with a short sentence. Sometimes only with a quiet "hmm." One afternoon, Tom asked the question that had been growing inside him. "Why do you sit here every day?" Samuel didn't answer right away. His eyes moved to the empty street, to the end of the road where the sun slowly fell. "I'm waiting," he said. "For what?" Tom asked. Samuel took a deep breath. "For someone who isn't coming anymore." The word stayed between them. Tom didn't know what to say. So he said nothing. Another day, rain came suddenly. Tom ran to Samuel's porch, laughing as water soaked his shoes. Samuel stood up for the first time Tom had ever seen. "You'll catch a cold," he said. He opened the door and invited Tom inside. The house smelled of old books and clean air. It was simple. Quiet. On the wall hung a single photograph of a young woman smiling. "That's my wife," Samuel said, noticing Tom's eyes. "She looks kind," Tom said. "She was," Samuel replied. They sat at a small table. Samuel poured warm tea with careful hands. "She used to sit with me here," he continued. "Every evening. We watched the street together. We talked about nothing. And everything." "What happened?" Tom asked gently. "She passed away," Samuel said. "Many years ago." Tom felt his chest tighten. "I'm sorry." Samuel nodded. "After she was gone, the house became too loud when I stayed inside. Too quiet when I left. So I sit there. Where she last laughed." From that day on, Tom understood. He brought small things with him. A drawing. A story from school. Once, a sandwich his mother made too much of. Samuel accepted them all with quiet gratitude. Sometimes Samuel spoke more. About his job as a teacher. About his wife's love for music. About the way life feels shorter when you stop sharing it. One evening, Samuel didn't come outside. Tom waited. The sun went down. The chair stayed empty. The next day, the chair was still empty. Fear filled Tom's small heart. He knocked on the door. No answer. An ambulance came later that afternoon. Samuel had fallen. His body was tired. Too tired. Tom stood across the street, watching strangers carry the quiet neighbor away. The chair remained on the porch. Days passed. The house stayed closed. The garden grew wild. The street felt different. One afternoon, Tom's mother found him sitting on Samuel's chair. "He liked this spot," Tom said. She sat beside him. Weeks later, a letter arrived for Tom. It was short. Written carefully. "Thank you for reminding me that I was still here. Samuel." Tom folded the letter and kept it close. Years passed. Tom grew older. Taller. Louder. Then quieter again. One evening, after a long day, he found himself sitting on a bench, watching people pass. He smiled softly. Because he knew now that even the quietest lives hold deep stories. And sometimes, all they need is someone brave enough to say hello.